This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of Tapped In Sales. I'm your host, Bud, here with Mikey, little mathematician Mikey, and then our friend of the pod, principal of culture, Mr. Hunter Jerome. How are you, Hunter?
I'm great. It's Friday. It's cold and only going to get colder up here, but we're doing great.
Hunter's up in Bismarck, and when I was visiting you guys, it was Dickinson and the Dickerson. I kept confusing your second name. I kept flying back and forth across. People, we were laughing in one of the meetings. It's like, what are you laughing about? It's like, you say it all different ways every time.
Couldn't figure it out. I think we finally got there.
Oh, my man. Well, we learned something new, Hunter, about you. We learned a new thing in beer called Bock Poking. What is Bock Poking all about, my man?
Bock Poking is a great little event that we host some of them up here, where you take a good sugary, full-bodied beer like a Bock, a good, 6% plus Bock, drink it down a little bit, pull out a red-hot iron rod from the fire and poke it in there and caramelize all the good sugars and drink that tasty little marshmallow off the top. It's fantastic.
It's incredible. I had no idea this was a thing, Mike.
I didn't either. I know this looks awesome. When Hunter mentioned it, obviously I had to shoot right to the YouTube and check it out, and it looks amazing. I can't wait to try this. But so my question is, it foams up. You put the red hot poker in there, it foams up. So then what? You just drink the foam, and that's the good part.
Foam. That's the best part.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna try this.
It's like a toasty marshmallow sitting on top of the beer.
I might have to get a fire going this weekend.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this picture that I found on the internet is that these knuckleheads have a hot iron rod in a plastic beer glass.
Yeah, never would I do that. We always put it in a pint glass.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Like that. That. Pint glass for sure.
Well, that guy's showing off his skills of how talented he is. It's like playing that game Operation, right? Don't touch the side, don't touch the bottom. You just have to poke it in. He's a trained professional.
Yeah, you gotta come up. We'll try it out. We've hosted a couple so far. We got a couple more, and then got a big event with our legislators next week, actually, which will be fun, be interesting. I think there's a lot of people that don't know about it, even in our area, and we've been doing them for a number of years. We've got a good crowd too that comes, that literally will come to every one of them because they think it's the coolest thing ever. But I even got these nice little stickers on my desk for next week that say I got poked.
Nice.
So
awesome.
We're ready.
Is this usually an event that's obviously held outside, or if they have like an indoor fireplace too, you do it inside? Or
we always do it outside, just because usually, I can't think of an on-premise establishment here that has a inside fire anymore. And so
you can bring your own solo stove, right? They wouldn't mind putting a solo stove.
Well, yeah, lighting it up inside. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
smoke out the rest of the the establishment guests.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, we do them all outside. We do them all outside. And ours, right? So we plan this one for our legislators. We plan an event for them. North Dakota's only got a biannual legislature, so they only meet every other year. So every other year we plan a big beer event to try to get everyone together.
Because you're in the capital, like your market's in the capital, so everybody comes into town for that. And
yeah, absolutely.
You guys, do you have to manage all of that? Like, we were never blessed to have a problem of being in the capital or having a bunch of people coming to our lame ass market. So do you have to manage that whole thing?
Manage in the sense of either us or our AB competition from an association perspective, like we host. So, but other than that, from a managerial perspective, I don't know. I guess I also sit as the president of the board of our association. So everyone thought it was great because I'm in Bismarck, and then everyone, over the past who's been president and is not in Bismarck has always got to travel, and they're like, well, you're just there. So
we're gonna make
a lot
Hunter
more
do
involved.
Yes. Hunter's here. He's young and he's the president now and he's local. So like, we're going to make him do all the work. Why wouldn't we?
That's
He's damn good at Bock Poking, so why not put him in charge?
That's exactly how, our distributor members feel.
No, those other guys would get stickers made and everything for I got poked either. No way.
Or put him on a legislator.
It's gonna be good.
So I can just envision, Mikey, like, we've got some legislation we want to run and we pull out, they've got their glass and your legislator's standing in front of Hunter and you pull out the hot rod iron and you're like, okay, so I want to talk to you about this legislation that I need your support on. Because where you get poked next is very important about your answer.
Yeah.
Let's make you an offer you can't refuse.
No, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. It's always fun to host and invite people in. I'm sure you guys had the opportunity to do that too. Invite legislators or public officials in, and North Dakota, their ethics commission has a lot of rules on how you do it, and it's got to be educational. Well, there's no better way to educate people about our industry than bring them into the warehouse. Let them see it. I know about you and all the distributors servicing a vast portfolio of products, but I could bring a friend, public official, a foe, even call them coming into our facility and show them around, and they're like, "You don't just sell Coors Light?" No, we sell a lot of stuff. And they're like, "This is awesome." It's like, yeah, it's a giant concrete box full of beer. It's really cool. Get to come here every day.
It is awesome. I love it. So jumping on that path, we shared episode earlier this year, and it was all about the annual letter and what we see working with all the clients around, hey, this is where we see the business going. These are the challenges in front of the business. And I think one of the quotes was like, in a world where we're ever more connected, we feel so disconnected. Social media, digital distractions, where people are choosing to spend their money, like on new THC, Delta 9 beverages, but just even THC in general. Online gambling is prevalent. We're recording this leading up to the Super Bowl. That's going to be one of the largest online gambling games of the year by far. Even things like OnlyFans are pulling us from what would be more traditional behaviors, going out, conversing, collecting in communities, whether it be at our local churches or in community events, or at events like you're planning to host, or just going to the bar and like talking to your buddies on a Friday night and like hanging out. And case in point, like I've got friends down here in Florida that have been like, hey, let's go have a beer. We've done it twice. I've been here 4 months. So like the lack of our communities being physically connected with each other has been something that has vastly changed. And Hunter, this is something you're really passionate about. You listened to the episode and fired back an email. I was like, would love to come on the pod and talk about that. And you've got a lot of viewpoints around like, how is this impacting us as a society, but also the community of beer and the sales of beer as well, and how maybe we can do some things to get back on track as the pendulum is always swinging, moving back and forth, left and right. And right now we're becoming more and more disconnected, and let's hope that at some point in time in the near future, it'll start to swing back the other direction.
Absolutely.
So Hunter, your position on this is like, hey, we need to get together more often, right?
Absolutely. I mean, prime example, had some friends up from Colorado this last weekend, a young family that we've known for probably almost 10 years now. We got to know them when I was in college. He works for a nonprofit called Focus, or the Fellowship of Catholic University Students, a place that I actually worked for a few years before I moved back to work in the industry. My wife worked. And this is, colors a little bit of my background on this. But
what is that group? Tell us more about what that group does.
They train recent college grads to send them back onto campus to engage students ultimately in deep and authentic friendship and community and a life of faith. If I had to put it very simply, I mean, there's so much more to it. That's, a whole nother podcast, but it's colored a lot of my work now and how I see and approach my work here at in the industry, even with the association and the like. So this young family comes up, they're looking to move to Bismarck. They've kind of been restless down there. And prime example, right? They were here from Sunday to Wednesday, usually not drinking beer on a Sunday or Monday or a Tuesday, but they're here at my house. And it's like, yeah, they're exploring schools, they're seeing what's going on around town, but we're hosting them. They're in our house and we're hanging out and catching up. Haven't seen each other for a while. And what do? Good gravy. Drank Sunday, Monday. Well, I had another buddy in town that overlapped. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And it's not like we're getting blitzed every night, but having a few beers each night. And then all of a sudden, I mean, there's more beer drank from my fridge in those 4 days than there has been in the last 3 months. Granted, it's cold up here, but just the fact of coming together and is just that. It's not we're getting together to each drink a full case of beer.
Yeah.
We're having a few beers. My beer fridge is empty. What do I got to do this week? I got to load it up. 1, it's Super Bowl, and 2, it's empty. But if they wouldn't have come up, that would all sat in there, right? I'm not necessarily one to, I mean, I love beer, obviously, but I'm not necessarily one to drink by myself. Just like, I don't know, coffee. Don't really drink coffee by myself. There's a lot of people who don't drink.
Sitting on your linoleum floor in the dark, drinking beer.
No.
No, that is no fun.
No.
Well,
And so in that,
in
like,
the garage, though. You can drink beer by yourself in the garage if you're working on something. I think there's like a
or by the grill, right?
Fine.
There's occasions, but it's still an occasion, right? We talk about this all the time in the industry, like, is beer winning in this occasion or that occasion or whatever? For sure, the garage, the grill are absolutely 2 occasions that is beyond acceptable to drink 1, 2, 3, 4 beers as long as you're out there. But more often than that, like, yeah, coming together in community with good people, you're naturally going to drink beer. You're going to release a little bit of the life tension, stress, enjoy, not overindulge, but it just helps conversation flow. It's always been that. And now society looks at beer as like, beer's bad, alcohol's bad, it's all bad. And it's like, but it's not, right? We've always preached beer in moderation. And when you drink it in moderation, people come together and they connect. And yeah, all those things you mentioned from online sports betting, sitting on your couch, social media, you can see the best of everyone's life right from your fingertips. Why do you need to go hang out with them? Right? To the OnlyFans thing, which is even worse. Like, there's no intimate connection person to person with that. Like, it's all, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. But you look at that and people do this all from their couch. They spend money on it. And what are they not doing? They're not connecting person to person, right? If we had the chance, if Mike, you weren't in Michigan and Bud, you weren't in Florida and I wasn't in North Dakota, and we had the chance, we'd for sure do this in person over beer. Granted, technology is great. We can do it from all sorts of distances, but that's how we do it, right? You want to connect and come together. And I feel very passionately about this, that for beer as an industry to grow, we need to reconnect. And honestly, I loathe that the big suppliers release their commercials before the Super Bowl. I think that's ridiculous. But I actually think what they've done is just that. I think they really have kind of reinvigorated around that of like, we just need to come together and have a beer together, which is great. And so as we talk about this, it's kind of neat to see that of like, okay, maybe I'm not the only one thinking about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hit the nail on the head where beer brings people together. It gets them talking. It gets them back out of our phones and social media and being stuck in our little screen, right? Not talking to people. I mean, how many times you walked into a restaurant or a bar and there's a table of 4 or 5 and everybody's on their phones? It's like, hey, we're out to dinner. We can do this at home, right? Put the phones away. And those are a great example. I stumbled across a study from the CDC, and it said 21% of Americans feel lonely or have experienced feeling lonely, disconnect from friends and community. And what better way to bring people back together than beer? I mean, I think about beer. You start talking again, right? You're hanging out. You're doing different, and it could be as casual, like you say, as having a beer with your buddies on a Sunday through a Tuesday night, or barbecuing, or hanging out in the garage, or whatever. I mean, all of those things just scream beer brings people back together. And as an industry, I feel like we need to do a better job of getting on the same page and bringing people back into beer, right? Reminding that beer can be healthy in moderation. It's not one beer is going to kill you, but it brings people back together, it brings the community back together, and it brings a good time. So I guess as an industry, what else can we do? I mean, what can we do to bring people back together, whether it's shared promotions, right? I mean, I know you guys do, you're big on promotions. You go out to the bars and you bring people back together. But do you invite your neighboring wholesaler, your competitor back too, and say, hey, tonight's all about beer. Doesn't matter what brand you drink. We have both distributors here. We're just celebrating beer and bringing people back together, and check your cell phones or leave them in the car, put them on silent, whatever. Like, let's just have a good time. But I mean, what can we do as an industry to start promoting that again?
I mean, there's a lot there. My gut immediately goes to, it's got to be personal, right? For you, for me, right? Bud, you mentioned, talk to your friends, let's go get a beer. And you've done it twice.
Yeah.
Right? When we say that, be really intentional of like, yeah, let's go. I can't go now, but let's go tomorrow. Or when can we go? I think we've lost a little bit of the art of the personal invitation of when things are going on, to not send out a mass text, but to call that one person and then call that other person and say, hey, I'm going to see you there. Because what that does is then it challenges us as an individual inside of like, oh, shoot, if I don't go, like, he's going to call me out on it. I think that's where it starts. I mean, I think it's got to get really granular before it really starts out of like, we each as individuals in this industry and our friends, to our family and our friends, have to make that invitation. And from how you approach that top down is tough, but we got to recognize that we want it ourselves. We want to connect, like deep down in each and every one of us, whether you're Molson Coors, AB, Constellation, whether you're politically left or politically right, or you're right down the middle, like everybody wants to be known, loved, and cared for, period. Like anyone can take 5 minutes to reflect on their own life of where the most meaning is. It's that, right? People feel lonely. Why do they feel lonely? Because they're not known. They don't feel like they're known. They don't feel like they're loved. They don't feel like they're cared for. And so it's got to be a person-to-person thing of, are we willing to reach out to that person and invite them to the pub for a beer? Are we willing to reach out to that person that maybe is a little on the fringe? Are we willing to go outside the box and do something with our competitor, right? This legislative event we opened talking about is just that. It's brand hat off to the side. Yeah, it might be in our facility, but there's going to be all sorts of beers, right? And one of the greatest things, as in politics in life, when we talk about it, like, beer bridges that divide better than anything else.
Mm-hmm. The lead by example is the best place to start. Like you hosting Absolutely. The legislators. I was just on site this week with a new client Monday through Wednesday, flew back Thursday. But every night I was out with the client or with a group of people talking about beer, talking about life, talking about what we were doing professionally. So Monday night had beers with the strategic leader and one of the team leads. Tuesday night was leadership meeting and leadership dinner with the whole leadership. Wednesday night was happy hour with the whole team to follow up on all the work that we did. And they got everybody at a bar and had beers and dinner, and not like a full dinner, like heavy hors d'oeuvres, a handful of pizzas. And, we're able to share the stories and things we worked on, and then just visit with each other for an hour and a half. And then even the strategic leader and I went out after that as well and finished out the week, had a couple more beers, and then I headed to the hotel before I flew out. And that leading by example is the starting point. And, Mike, I think that what we would get back to, and we were starting to do this too, like we were starting to go back out and have beers with each other in a casual sense, around events. And it could just be like, it's Thursday. Like, we're going to have a couple of beers and it's Thursday. And it became super casual, and leading by example is what I would like to see each wholesaler do as an industry, and start to commit some budgetary dollars around, hey, just take your team out. Like team leads, take your teams out on Friday at 4:00, couple beers, like just hit a couple spots, have a handful of beers, and then go home. And like, just start doing that and just see the culture change and the connection change at your wholesaler overnight. And you do that, you start leading by example. Next thing you know, like, you can feel it starting to move the needle slowly, little by little.
Oh, for sure. And I'm very practical when it comes to this stuff too, is ever since COVID, the way people operate outside of work is different, right? Like, this isn't we get done with work at 5 and we go for a beer. This is, we're going to bust our butts to get done with our work today by 3:30 so we can go for a beer at 4 and I can still be home by 6.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's the other big shift as a culture and an industry that I hope to see. Like, there's a rodeo in town tonight. Starts at 7:30. And then wife and I are going to take the kids, but we want inside so bad that event to start at 6 o'clock.
No kidding. Yep.
It should. I got 2 kids. By the time it starts is past their bedtime. We're going to take them because it's going to be fun and we're going to have a good time. But there's a few events. University of North Dakota, I graduated. Obviously, they're known for their hockey program. They switched after COVID. Their games used to be Friday night at 7:37 and Saturday night at 7:07. They switched after COVID. Their Friday night game is at 7:07. Their Saturday night game is at 6:07. And it is unbelievable. Like, the feeling that you get up there when you get done with that game and you can get home and in bed by 10 o'clock sounds crazy. You're like, oh, you don't want to go out late anymore. It's like, no, nobody wants to go out late anymore. You look at the whole shift in the industry, there's still that crowd, but bars aren't full till bar close, right?
A lot of them aren't even open past midnight anymore.
Right. It's like, instead of when the party used to get going at 9 p.m. and stay, party wants to get going at 5, 6 o'clock and be home by midnight.
Yeah.
And I think that's
old
okay.
people have been right the whole time.
Yeah, they were onto something. Eat dinner at 4, go have some beers, be knocked out and passed out by 9 o'clock. Wake up at 5, do it again.
And I think that actually would be huge if we can, be willing to invite the person next to us, even if it's in the desk next to us or the delivery guy or whoever. Invite them and say, but we're not going out at 9 o'clock tonight. We're going out at 4, having a couple beers and going home.
Yeah. Yeah, I love awesome. That. And a couple points that I kind of want to circle back to. One, I have a group of friends. One friend that's pretty close to me, and he used to do a poker night every Tuesday. Would have all of his buddies. It was open invite. There were probably 20 people on the invite. Come if you can, don't if you can't, right? And it always started at 8 p.m. because everybody had kids. And put your kids in bed, get your kids tucked in, come over for an hour or two, hang out, we'll shoot shit, we'll play some cards. Well, then poker started falling apart. Well, that group still gets together every single Tuesday night. It's all by email because he refuses to get a cell phone. He does not own a cell phone. You can't text him or call him. So it's all email. But every Tuesday night, the email comes out to a group of 20, 25 guys. Hey, this is where we're going tonight. We'll be there at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And it's every single week. And there's sometimes, a bunch of people be there, and a couple times just a few. But it's that reoccurring, hey, I'm throwing it out there. Let's get together as humans and talk and just, have a good time. And they're not real big drinkers. They're really not. I mean, they might have 1 or 2 beers, but hang out for 2 or 3 hours just to be together as humans. And that leads me to my second point of, a lot of the on-premise falling apart and declines that we see. It has to do with the drinking and driving laws, right? Getting stricter, health conscious. All those things are definitely coming into play. So I also think that it's a great idea too for us to promote our better for you options at our promotions and even NA beers, right? Come out. What's the biggest excuse? Oh, I can't have a couple beers tonight and then drive home. It's a long drive, or I have something to do in the morning. Come out, hang out. We have NA beers. They taste amazing. If you've never had one, I'll buy one for you. Like so many people will be so surprised at how good those actually taste, and you can still hang out and communicate and be with your buddies and not get drunk.
But Mike, at the same time, with on-premise and drinking and driving laws, Uber and other things like that have never been more prevalent than before. Like, do we not think that's playing a role in getting people back out, or do we just? I don't think that really matters anymore in much of the country.
Yeah.
Not that I would beg to differ, but like, we live in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get an Uber at 10:30 at night from the bar, you're probably going to wait an hour. And so it is a struggle, which was crazy because I've just seen more and more around town. Old school taxi service just spun up. Like, Bismarck Transportation Services has come back around. And it's like, obviously there's still a desperate need for that. So is it more prevalent? Absolutely. But I even think we have 4 years, basically forever, always told our staff, we will pay for your ride home. You get home safe. Bring me your receipt. We'll pay for it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I've been back almost 6 years now. At the helm for a year and a half. Not until probably the last 12 months have people really started using it. Like, we've had to preach and preach and preach and preach and preach for people to adopt this and finally get there. And so, it absolutely, it's never been more prevalent, but I still think there's a lot. There's, generationally, a lot of some that have always done it this way. They've always maybe taken the risk, unfortunately. And newer generations that are like, well, I don't know how I'm going to get home, so I'm just not going to go out. Right. We got to find the tension in the middle and say, you're going out, we're getting you out, we're hanging out, have a beer, have an NA beer, then go home, whatever. Or have a few beers and all DD tonight, whatever. That, there's that, but it's just, we got to get people out. They can drink beer, they can drink NA, they can drink water. Look, they just need to get out.
There's never been a time in history that it's been more acceptable to be with a group of people that are drinking alcohol and be the one not drinking alcohol. I feel like questions don't even get asked anymore, right? You're not even the odd man out. It's just like, oh, he's not drinking tonight, or she's not drinking tonight, or maybe they're driving, or maybe whatever, but questions don't get asked like they used to.
No, that stigma's not there.
Right.
And even at the happy hour on Wednesday, guys, they got 2 buckets of Liquid Death. This wholesaler sells Liquid Death too. They got 2 buckets, they had buckets of beers, buckets of Liquid Death, and everybody just kind of meandered around both. Nobody said a word about either one of them. So everybody did, in fact, have a beer too. But like, we have a special skill set as in the beer industry. Like, come on, let's go have a beer. Final.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Last words.
One more. Nothing will hurt you. And leveraging that, like leading by example. And part of leading by example is too, Hunter, we did see the new Super Bowl ads, and this will lead into, some of the discussions we want to have next week too, and review the Super Bowl, like once they come out with all the final ones, because you guys, the Miller Lite crew doesn't post them early. So it's a wait for them to come out. But, Anheuser-Busch posted theirs, the Bud Light commercial. And what was your initial reaction to that?
That was great. In this whole vein of what we're talking about, that's what we need. And do I maybe think it's unfortunate that it was Bud Light's move because I don't sell it, but it is. We need the whole industry to do that. That's what we need. We need them to encourage connection. At the end of the day, that's what we need. We need Bud Light to do it. I need Miller Lite to do it. I need Coors Light to do it. I need Ultra to do it. I need Modelo to do it. I need Twisted Tea to do it. I need whatever brand you are.
Yeah.
I need Athletic Brewing to do it, right? We have to come together and connect. No more of this. No more phone. Set that aside. And like you said, when we get together, you do it. At a restaurant yesterday, you go out and you're right. You have 4 people sitting at a table and they're all sitting at their phone.
Mm-hmm.
I do my best when I'm with someone. If I'm going to sit down with someone, there's nothing more important in the world than that person in front of me. Like, right. Why would I be sitting with them if I'm just going to sit there on my phone? There's no point. But there are so many people that are just wired to say, I'm just going to scroll my phone, right? We're just glued to that, right? They're meant to be addictive, unfortunately. And we have to continue to fight against it and invite people together. We can help break technology addiction by reconnecting.
You're right. And the Bud Light cul-de-sac commercial is a great jumping off point for that, getting together as a party. My gut tells me Case of the Mondays, which is a great program too. I think is going to vibe like the Snicker bars, grab a Snickers, that old school commercial methodology. They're going to do that with a party. Like they're going to have, some guy standing around whining about something, and it's going to be Case of the Mondays. And then they're going to have a party scene. They have to too. So it'll be the industry before we actually see all of them is going to look really connected to getting people together this year.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think it's a positive thing for sure.
Yeah, get people together. Get some humor in it again, right? Mm-hmm. Get some levity in it. I don't know, wherever people are on the political divide, it seems like there's some tension and frustration, but there's some release as maybe some ways of the world over the last 10 years might be set aside. I think that's going to be huge for encouragement to the greater culture and society to come back together and settle your differences over a beer, right? Even, again, we got legislators from both sides of the spectrum coming in on next Tuesday and over a beer. Let's talk about it. Let's relax and talk about it. Let's, as friends, we got differences to settle. Let's do it over a beer. Let's not get all feisty about it. Let's share it, lay it out on the table, and enjoy it.
The biggest problem with the internet is the anonymity of it. Internet
Right.
1.0 is keyboard warriors and the anonymity side of it, and that you don't know who's actually posting it. And your attitude on a computer with a keyboard is totally different than your attitude when somebody calls you or confronts you in person or sees you in the physical world. Like, what you wrote to that vendor that you're mad at, or what you might text to your beer distributor rep that you pissed off about, is vastly different than when they show up in your store.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
100%. 100%. So
that's where that point of personal connection, hearing someone's voice, seeing someone's face, you're not going to do that. I mean, you might be so frustrated about something, and then you see that person, you're like, nope, can't say it like that. That's not going to land very well.
No, for sure.
Can't approach them like that. That's not going to go very well. Why? Because it's a person. We're drawn to connect with people, even if we disagree with them.
You're 100% right. Well, I love this topic. It is a great topic. Thank you, Hunter, for bringing us on and talking about it. For me, to get back, it's lead by example. Get your peers out there. Share beers with friends. Get your teams out there. Our listeners are all industry members. Get your teams out there. Budgetary dollars tied to some team meetings and having some fun and just getting back out. We had so much fun, Mike, when we got Dave to come out and sample with us.
We had so much fun. When we started rolling some of our sales meetings, like this Friday, our sales meeting is at Buffalo Wild Wings. Be there at 12:30, right? And we'll have some lunch and a couple of beers and we'll talk about it. Those sales meetings transformed from somebody standing up and telling the entire team something to collaborative, open conversation. We got more feedback from the market than we ever had before. And then as we started going on with that, we actually put a rule in place to where if you wanted a meeting with us being leadership, myself, Bud, or Tom, we had to do it over a beer at a bar. Don't come to the office. Meet us at the bar. Right. I mean, that's where the real business went down. So yeah, exactly. Leading by example, getting back out there, putting the phones down, instead of the group text, let's go have a beer. Let's chat about it. Let's all get on the same page about whatever the topic is for this month or this week and go back to our roots.
Yeah. Prime example. We had our Christmas party a couple weeks ago. Yes. Late January. It's actually great. You're not worried about anything.
Perfect time.
It was fantastic. So we have 2 facilities. We loaded up a bus here in Bismarck, drove to Dickinson, stopped at a bar along the way. People were having a good time. Had a cooler full of beer on the bus. Had a cooler full of NAs on the bus. Go over, get to mingle as a crew. Just get, as many people. We had about 40 of our people together with some plus ones, and just had a blast. People were so excited just to share in genuine community with their staff members, their fellow employees. Not talk about work, talk about life, have some fun, share, and let's try this. We sampled some of our new products and had a blast on the way back. We stopped at a bar on the way back in a small town, and they were jacked that we stopped in out of the blue. Living in your bigger cities, you don't always get to see your rural bars as a whole crew, and they were just floored. Thank you so much for coming in. This was great. Buy a few guys at the bar, a couple of their regulars, some of their regular beers. They're just jacked. And we came back, and it's been pretty electric since we've been back. The crew is just like, this was great. When's the next thing? What are we doing next? Where are we going? This is and they want it. And obviously it's a big encouragement from our team of that point of connection. But yeah, that's, to sum it up for me in this whole conversation, is nice.
You gotta do this next time.
I know. We gotta get I gotta get one of those.
Santa Bud. That was our holiday party every year.
I can't grow a beard like you, though.
Doesn't matter. You don't need a beard to wear the Santa suit, bro.
All right. I'll work on that.
Oh man, that was great.
All that to say is, we gotta find ways to connect. It starts with ourselves as an individual, to set the phone down, to call that friend. We all have those instances where I really want to get together with this person. Do something about it then. If you see that inside yourself, do something. Call that friend that you haven't seen. Get a group of friends together, have a beer. Invite them over to your house. Host a dinner party. Do something about it. Don't just sit there and say I'm lonely. Don't just sit there. I don't know, if you want to do sports betting, well, at least go to the bar with your friends and do it with them, right? Try not to do it from your couch, right? There's some of the other things maybe we should set aside for real connection, but just do something about it. Get together with your friends. We need to. If we're gonna grow beer, people got to come back together.
Well said.
Love it. Love it. You rock, Hunter. Thanks for coming on the pod, my man, and talking about this. Mikey, add in the flavors. Love it. Country, Amazon. It's like $29.99. Get the Santa suit now. Ship it in. Have it in your office. Ready to rock. I can't find the hat anymore. Wear that hat. The hat vanished after the first, like, evaporated the first party we wore to. Bye-bye. Never to be seen again. Oh, I love it. Well, thanks, boys. You guys rock. If you love what we're doing and you're listening here, like, subscribe, review, share with a friend. Hunter is here from Hunter Jerome Distributing over in Bismarck in Dickinson. If you're ever looking to look him up over in North Dakota. And any party notes, boys? Or just let Hunter ride out and let's chase him up the hill, man. Grow
it's
beer.
Friday. I'm going to call my buddies and I'm going to have some beers with some friends tonight.
Absolutely. Let's go.
I love it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers,
Hunter.
boys.
Cheers.
Cheers.